Okay, let's call the UW Extension meeting to order. The record show that Supervisor Peisler is absent. I'd entertain a motion to adopt the agenda and approve the minutes from December 2nd as published.
Second.
Moved by Chuck, seconded by Gary to adopt the agenda and approve the December 2nd meeting minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Motion carried. Any public input? Seeing none, we'll move on to educator reports. You should have reports in front of you from the educators. So let's go through those first, and then we'll take Laura after we go through those reports. If anyone has any questions or comments on the educator reports.
Were there 3 reports? Did you send
Yeah.
one in? I did not.
So I sent on Monday, and I thought you might have not printed it.
Did I print? I did print this Monday. It did not come
That's
through.
weird.
Thank you.
Got one.
Thank you.
You need them, Jenny?
So you were prepared.
I was, because I'm like, normally it's got to be in by Friday, and it was Monday morning because it's Friday. So here you go. I wanted to make sure you had it.
Not till this weekend. Yep. Yeah. Probably before the ice. The ice is still a little mushy because of the temperatures, but looks like the tubing hill should be up and running just fine.
I did stop there on Sunday, and the door was open. Took a walk in there, and so are they going to allow kids or people to go in there with skates on?
There's supposed to be rubber mats on the floor. I don't know if those are installed
They
yet.
were not. No.
Yeah,
were
they
not.
might actually be in right now. I'm not sure.
I was just kind of curious how. I mean, you're not going to walk on concrete with skates.
Yeah, the plan was to put rubber mats down.
It looks very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, it turned out good.
Yeah. No, I think okay. That's a different restroom that they use, correct? They use the one down the outside there. Yeah, no, it looked really pretty nice.
We're happy it's almost done.
Yeah, yeah.
It's been a long process.
And the rink, I think, well, I know it was closed, but I mean, looked like it was going to be a pretty decent size.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, gotta hope. There's no lights out there though, huh?
They're supposed to be. Again, the electrician was just there yesterday.
Okay, and then are they gonna have somebody monitor? Let's put it this way, babysit?
No, you're supposed to behave yourself on your own. It has open hours, and if there's a problem, someone can call the parks. But if generally, I think people should. It's ice skating. If they can figure out how to be naughty doing that,
Yeah.
I guess we have other problems to deal with.
Yeah, okay. That's the only question I had those kind of written down someplace. I forgot to bring them, but.
Yeah, the electrician was just there yesterday finishing up some things, both there and in the Dana farm, or the Ransomware cabin.
Okay.
I can share a little bit about my report. I thought since it's the beginning of the year, I would just do kind of an overview again. I thought that might be helpful for Matt too. Just a short paragraph on what Extension is, and then what our Human Development and Relationships Institute's mission is. So I just put a few sentences in there. Sometimes it's complicated to understand all the different groupings within Extension and of the division of responsibilities in our different institutes. So I put a little summary in about specifically the institute that I'm a part of. And then Chuck, last month you had asked about some numbers So usually this report of the year, I'll pull in some numbers, and I was just comparing my last year's report to this year. One of the things that jumped out at me was that my direct and indirect educational contacts were actually up in 2020, even with COVID compared to the previous year. So, um, we've been able to use technology and still serve a lot of people in that time frame. So I gave you a lot of numbers. I can give you more detail on how that all breaks down, but hopefully that at least gives you some idea of the number of people reached and the number of different classes and workshops and presentations, things like that. And that we have to report this all back to the state too. So by the 10th of this month, we have to have all of our information in for Madison's purposes, because then they do a lot of compiling on their end too. So the 10th is our deadline to get this kind of information compiled for them. And we have to put it in a lot of different formats in the system that they use, but then they also create reports. And I think Laura's going to talk about one of the reports or some of the work that she does more detail. So you can do a comparison of, some of the different programs and what kind of data that we're looking at and outcomes.
So is everybody working on site here, or are a lot of people doing more virtual yet, or are you here every day?
I'm mostly virtual yet, or
Okay.
mostly working from home yet.
Okay,
That's because I feel like that's what we've been asked to do from Madison.
okay, I didn't know if that had changed or not.
Yeah, I think that's what their preference is.
I think through March is what I've saw. That was the last work from home telecommuting agreement we signed was through the end of March. So, and that was the direction from our dean that we were given.
So my question then, I guess, is that working out pretty well, or is it harder to do your daily duties from
think-
home, or is it easier here in-house, or?
It depends. It's hard because we've always used our own personal phones. I get phone calls all the time from farmers,
Absolutely.
and I don't want to call them back from my own personal cell phone.
Yeah.
So if I do return calls, or when I do return calls, if it's already somebody already has my phone number, I'll call them back from my own phone. But I have to come in here. I've got a phone call I need to return today from somebody I haven't ever worked with before. So there's a phone situation. We tried to go through the Google phone and all these different things they give us options to do, and it's not very effective. And then it's convenient to work from home, but then I know I find myself working at 10 o'clock at night, at midnight, at whatever time of the day quite often. So that's, not ideal.
Well, I guess my question then to everybody here is, would it be better if you had a county phone?
I don't know. I don't want to necessarily have to carry two phones. It's
Okay.
just easier to have an office.
I mean, I know a lot of I know
think.
that's possible. I mean, a lot of
Yeah.
county employees have county phones, and if it makes your job easier, then we should be looking at that.
I find a lot of times I'll leave a message and I'll say, I'm calling you from my personal phone. Particularly an older audience that I'm reaching. I'll say in the message, I'm calling you and this is my personal cell phone number because I'm working from home today. So, when you get the message, call me back. And some will. Other times I've waited until I've, come in the office one day a week and then I'll call them from this. But then that's not real timely if they're waiting for me to call them back.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, it's something to think about. I mean, if you think that's a tool you need.
Yeah, I wish there was a workaround, like a number we could just use to call out. There's a lot of technology out there that we could use where we don't actually need a separate phone, but it would appear that we're calling out from a county number. I don't know.
Different number because
Oh.
and I've used my cell
Sheriff's
phone.
Department
for
has a
over a year.
no list number. I mean, that's what they use all the time, so I know right away who's calling.
Yeah.
I had some software challenges. With my personal computer, I'm using everything that I'm using at home is mine. I don't have anything from the office at home. And so I do, when I make these videos, like on here, you'll see that I had 3 videos on here on my report. All of those videos on
Okay.
I made on my own personal computer, and I don't have a very good graphics card on my computer, and so it's really, really slow. So it takes me 2 hours to render a video that's, 25 minutes long. And that takes 2 hours. And then it takes another hour to upload it because our internet is slow. And then, it takes me probably, just besides the actual editing of the video, one video takes me, I don't know, 7 or 8 hours to make. And it's just because of software, it's because of hardware, and, and we're doing the best we can because we're using our own stuff. But I don't know, that's a challenge. That can be very challenging. But, they give us some tools, but not a lot. So we're kind of just getting, I would prefer to actually just be in the office and have the equipment here because at least I know the internet is faster.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I was just curious of how things were working. I know with our computer at home, it's not, it's okay.
Hmm.
I'm not gonna go any higher than that.
Mhm.
I can get by with it, but depends what time you go on it.
That makes a big difference.
I'm on it at 5, a little after in the morning, well. I'm kind of eating it.
Yeah.
All of our phones, our phones are cellular. I've kept a home phone number.
Yeah.
We get a lot of other junk calls.
Oh, yeah, I know.
I don't really like doing. There are people I call, but there's people that.
Yeah, it will be nice when we eventually can get back to in-person workshops. I have a lot of different types of audiences, and some of the younger parents actually prefer that their classes are online and virtual because then they aren't inconvenienced with having to find childcare in the evening or rush somewhere. It just saves them time. But then the older generation, they really want to get together. They want to socialize, and they're the most vulnerable right now. So that's been challenging. I've been trying to come up with different creative ways to get them more involved, and we laugh because they're still often learning the technology. We've been meeting on some of these Wise Wednesday meetings, and then so we kind of like go around the room and talk a little bit, or talk as we're all together on the phone or over Zoom, and sometimes we can see their mouth moving, but we don't hear anything. So they'll say, "Oh, you're on mute," or and then they're fidgeting with their phone often or something, trying to get that mute button on and off and on and off. And we've just come to the point where we just kind of laugh and we're all learning together. And I still have some of these same challenges myself. Sometimes I get a little frustrated because we're not able to have great smooth communication, but yet just yesterday I was participating in a meeting where I couldn't get the mute button to work properly. So I thought, well, maybe it isn't just user error. There must be sometimes other technology things happening too. But yeah, we're really looking forward to the day that we can do some more in-person gatherings, even some smaller groups.
So as
But
far as you not being able to work in our setup here is because the state says you can't. Does the state realize the setup we have here, that it's maybe a little different with 3 people here than other places maybe? I don't know. Okay. I know, I hear you.
So before we end today, though, I had some really fun things in December. I just wanted to hit on. If do we have a couple of minutes?
Oh, yeah.
So I'll keep them short to a sentence, but so 108 was the number of 4-H at home for the holidays kids that we got out to feed, and that was families. So that actually represented more young people than 108. So that was 108 families that we reached through our live program and through the kits that they could then go and watch the videos on a Google website that we created specifically for this project. So that was something we were super excited and proud of. 35 was the amount of full food boxes that we gave to families in Kewaunee County, for a total of 118 with 2 local parishes at Toys for Tots. So typically speaking, one of our things that we do every year is we work with Toys for Tots with our teen association and our other groups, and we do a food drive through our clubs. Well, we couldn't do that as normal this year, so we actually figured out a way to do a contactless drop off, and we were able to, through that, create these very full of food, non-perishable food, and toiletries. So you see there's a picture there with our skeleton crew that did packing of all of those boxes and bringing them to be distributed. So that was really great. And then my last thing I want to touch on numbers wise is, over the past several months, I've worked with a team of colleagues to create annual leader training that was actually training for volunteers throughout the state. We held 3 different unique sessions. And during each of those sessions, the first 2 had between 300 and 400 people that attended them virtually with us. And the last one was close to 500. So we reached those individuals throughout the state of Wisconsin. Some of those individuals were repeats. Some of those individuals were brand new every time. But we were just really excited to see, and it created such energy and synergy through our volunteers. We heard over and over, this was exactly what I needed to reinvigorate myself, to reignite myself, to make myself get back to where I was feeling like I'm part of the organization. So we were really proud of that. And so we're doing some follow-up information, and we'll do some follow-up evaluation data on that as well. But I know we had 150 plus evaluation results as of the other day. So we're waiting for those to finish coming in. But we're going to continue that with our ongoing series throughout the summer. So we are working through what we are going to do for that ongoing series for volunteers to continue that energy that we've started and created that connecting point. So that annual leader training is something that all charter groups have to have at least one representative go through. However, we had some people who came to all 3 trainings because they had such value in them. So really good outreach for the entire state of Wisconsin, and some really good things numbers wise happening here in Kewaunee County with 4-H and youth development, and finding creative and innovative ways. I have to say, we've had some creative, innovative, new things that we've been doing to reach new audiences, to make sure our current members are engaged, and to hopefully help support our volunteers as they're navigating through these really unique times where we can find some different, interesting educational opportunities. Yeah, that did include Durham Brown County in that 108. So, but it's still a great thing that we reached that many, and we had a really good turnout here from that in Kewaunee County. So, questions about any of those pieces? But I decided to touch because there's some really cool, fun things that happened here in the county in December. I only know a very little. Is there something specifically that you're thinking about that I can?
Normally they book the attorney.
Yeah, at convention. Yeah, convention is virtual. So I know that they're working on that. I was just talking to a fair board member last night after a different meeting, and we were talking about this, but they're making their plans to continue forward as they can. You know, it all depends on, as Judy mentioned, the numbers are rising. So it depends, I guess, for them what happens. But we're moving forward with some different options. And I actually talked to this person last night to see if I could have some sort of meeting to discuss options if things can't occur how they normally occur. What can we provide as alternatives? And we've been doing that with our auction committee as well. We did that on Monday night. We had a discussion about that. So we're trying to think of new creative and innovative ways. So multiple scenarios. So if this, then this, if this, then this, if this, then this. So how can we work in those, 3 to 4 different scenarios?
I know somebody from the fair board is meeting with finance on Friday for insurance purposes. So I did talk to one fair board member, and he said they were planning on moving ahead. I guess this is a process they must do all the time. So yeah, so I know that they're doing that Friday morning. So. Good. Thank you. Good job.
Anything else on educator reports? Otherwise, thank you guys. We'll move on to Laura.
Hello. I think
Morning.
you should have two reports in front of you, right? One is for strong bodies and one is the FoodWise year-end impact report. Correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, I'll start with the FoodWise year-end impact report. And this is a report that I would create for each of the 3 counties that I serve. And as others have said, this has been a challenging year. You'll see at the very top, it says Kewaunee County saw a 22% increase in food share participation that would be between March 1st and the beginning of December, which is quite dramatic. So one of the biggest problems that we faced, of course, is making sure that people had food and access to resources. So, and one of the things that we worked on, and you'll see that in the community impact area, is making sure that food pantries were able to connect to those USDA food distributions that began in April and continued through December. Many small rural communities did not have access because they do not have food banks. We have food pantries, but not food banks. So we don't have the ability to take a whole semi truck full of food. We don't have a loading dock. We don't have staff to unload a semi full of food, and we don't have a way to store it. So what we did is we worked together, Kewaunee and Manitowoc County worked together as well as Door. And Kewaunee people were able to benefit from the semi-trailers full of food coming into Manitowoc and those coming into Sturgeon Bay, which was awesome. It worked really well. So every other week from, I think we started in May and ended in the late fall. And then after that, the Kewaunee County Food Pantry was able to get their own distribution, but it took a long time. So that was a really important piece of what we did that year. And in addition to just getting the food, we were providing recipes for the food that might be unfamiliar. They were getting things like collard greens and yams and things that might be a little bit less familiar to rural Wisconsin folks. And at the same time, we worked with United Way to get out information about coronavirus early and then be able to disseminate that along with the food. Before the pandemic, we were still doing our work, our nutrition education work at senior meal sites, and we were doing some strong bodies programs, which we'll get to later because they could be done outdoors later on in the summer. Our work also included some outreach to our Latino community, and Imelda Del Chambre was integral to that. She was making phone calls to people who felt trapped at home. They weren't sure it was safe to even leave their homes during the pandemic, and much of the information was unavailable in Spanish for a really long time. So she was talking to them about what they could do, what was considered the best practice at the time. And she even went so far as to call the sheriff's department to say, is it okay for people to go to the food pantry, or will they be stopped? Because that was the rumor. So that was really an important part of what we were doing at the time. As maybe you already know, I'm not sure, but Imelda retired at the beginning of October, and then our other educator, Kayla Stencil, resigned just to pursue her own business. So right now I'm kind of the one-woman show. And my work has been focused on trying to recruit and hire educators for both Manitowoc and Kewaunee as well as Door. We'll be hiring a half-time person who would be in Kewaunee Door. This is based on SNAP eligible people living in the counties. So that's the reason it's halftime. The numbers of SNAP eligible people in Manitowoc County is higher. So we have a full-time person we're recruiting for Manitowoc County. But we do work, we work together to meet the needs of all three counties as much as we can. So you'll see that advertisement on the extension website. And we're hoping to have a bilingual person. That would be our goal for this round, Spanish and English, as we have had in the past. And then if you have any questions about this document, we can talk about that. There's a backside, of course, too, where I wrote a couple of stories to tell you some of what we're working on in Kewaunee in 2020. So if you have questions, shoot.
No.
Just an observation from what was going on at the Algoma Food Pantry.
Yep.
Maybe a week ago. I think it was sometime during the week after Christmas. There was a giveaway of food boxes.
Yep.
And this started early in the morning, like before 8 o'clock. And if you're familiar where the food pantry is on
Yes.
Sunset, Oklahoma, there was a line of cars stretching a full city block before 8 o'clock in the morning. And an hour and a half later, that line was still the same length. So I don't know if when some of those people got to the pantry, if there was enough food left, but I thought they were giving 150 boxes away that day.
It was like that.
A
A lot. That was not an uncommon story. Ken Marquardt and I talk pretty regularly. And he and I spoke in April, and that was one of the reasons we started connecting with Manitowoc County, is that we knew the need was high and that there would be people who would not have enough food and other resources. So yeah, that is not uncommon. We have seen that in Manitowoc as well. And I know in Dorr, they've been trying to have their food giveaways in different communities, not always in the same community. And they've seen the same thing. You know, there have been really great increases in the number of people who are SNAP eligible. And if you ever look up what kind of income it is to be SNAP eligible, it means, you know, you're going to have a hard time paying your rent and paying for food. It's quite frightening. And I don't see that trend decreasing in the next several months. I think it'll be challenging. I was really glad to see that people were getting some support from the government.
We sent out an email pretty broadly from our extension office here. Should have been 500 boxes. That's what I emailed out, that there would be 500 food boxes available. And then we put in capital letters for anyone. So
Yes.
the food boxes were not specifically for food share SNAP eligible families. So because it was for anyone, we really got the word out. So I know Pat Josky and Sheriff Josky also helped spread that word, because they do a lot with the Salvation Army program. And at the same time, we had flyers put in all the Toys for Tots pickup bags. So we really got the word out about those. That was I think that was the 30th, right?
That was the last one, correct. And to my knowledge, there will be no further USDA farmers to families food distributions unless they start it again, but it had ended. And of course, the pandemic is not ending, and people's jobs are not necessarily back to normal. So I think the pantries will face another round of high pressure on them to meet the needs of the people. And yeah, they did not have, you're right, they did not have parameters to say you have to show that you're SNAP eligible or you have to prove income, because these things happen very suddenly to people, job loss or other crises. And so people didn't want to put that caveat in there. Renee was extremely helpful in getting the word out. And Ken had told me that she was helping to do that. And he had put the information on free radio sites and stuff as well. So trying to get the word out, but at this point, we're also looking for other resources. So, okay, other questions about the year-end report, or should I briefly talk about the strong bodies piece?
Bye, Erica.
Bye. All right, Strong Bodies is a program that is familiar in both health and well-being and in food-wise. Both of our educator groups can teach those classes, which is a bit unusual. A lot of times things are pretty firmly divided, but that's one we can share. As you'll see on the report, we did conduct Strong Bodies classes during the pandemic, and had several going for a while. It was very well received. And Kayla Stencil was our lead in FoodWise on that program. So she had been trying to get it off the ground and running. And she did, which was great. There's a lot of interest in it. It's perfectly suitable for rural communities. You don't need a great big area. You don't need a lot of people. You don't need a lot of special equipment. In fact, we have weights and things for people to use, which is great. But unfortunately, we will have to start over with our new hire and train the new person to teach those classes and get it going again. But I know there's interest. And it has been something that has been very well received in the community. And it's great for communities where people may have less ability to get to an exercise facility, or they may not be one. We also did online Strong Bodies, and you'll see that there was virtual programming. So for people that we knew were interested, we contacted them and gave them the links. And then for people that we thought may not have solid internet, there was also a recording on YouTube they could use that would not require them to be live and virtual. So it was a way for people to remain active, even if they were in their homes or limited access to any exercise facilities at all.
Laura, I think it's interesting on the Strong Bodies report that I think it was in February when Kayla was running the class at the Algoma Youth Club, and she had 24 participants. That's a great number considering that just 2 blocks away is the Algoma Health and Wellness Center. And because that has been a conversation that we've had in planning programs is, where do we offer these? Often we'll offer them in a church or community center, like the Maribel Center. Kayla had great success in providing that program in Maribel because of, then people didn't have to travel so far to get to some other type of facility. But then you look at Algoma and you think, well, they already have that beautiful facility right there in the community. And yet we still had 24 participants over at the youth club. And I know she did say that some of those participants go both places. So some people are just real diehards and they want to exercise every day. And they're maybe sometimes even going both places in one day because they also probably really like to socialize. But that makes it hard for us to plan because, you think, well, you want to offer these more rural and away from where there isn't other options available. But then you see within blocks of each other, you have a good number of participants. So it's just an observation that I'm making that kind of proves that sometimes our program planning can be really challenging.
I think it has really struck a nerve with people. It combines both the physical activity and there's a very strong social connection in those groups. People tend to come in pairs, and they talk, and we always try recipes with that class. At least before the pandemic we did. And it just, became it's like if you're at home, you can say, "Ah, I think I'll do my exercise later." But if you have somebody who's meeting you there, or somebody who'll notice if you don't show up, there's maybe more of an incentive. So I think that's part of the key to the success. And Kayla had really nice relationships with a lot of the folks that she was serving. So I'm hoping to find somebody who can continue in that vein and you know pick up where we left off and hopefully expand a bit as well. And since I've scared off at least 2 people already, maybe I'll stop talking.
Anyone have any questions for Laura?
I think just a comment about that, there'll probably be more and more participation from different groups because like we're social animals, so we've been lacking in that for so long now that I mean, I think the problems that are created by being cooped up are gonna get worse, so people are really going after any and every chance they have to get out and do something.
Yes, I think you're right. I was surprised at how many people actually chose to participate in virtual physical activity. And I think you're exactly right. That is why they're lonely and they're sick of being home by themselves and doing the same stuff they've been doing for months. I feel the same way at times.
Okay, anything else? If not, thank you,
Thank
Laura.
you. Thanks for the time.
Good information. Okay, let's move on to department head director report. Judy?
Was that a handout that you gave? Oh, no, that's okay. I just thought I was missing that or something. Okay. No, I guess I'm saying you said you handed out a position. No, I did not.
I don't, but I could print one out.
Thank you.
I can
And
go print one
Renee,
out.
do you have the announcement in your packet?
Yes.
Okay, are you willing to give
Yes.
yours up? Okay. So she'll give you ours. Perfect. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
And otherwise, extension's pretty much on hold. They're waiting to see what the biennial budget's going to look like for the UW system. And realizing that the state is going to have up to a $2 billion deficit. So we're going to have to kind of see what happens and what that impact is to the UW system, to counties, local governments. So at this point, I think everybody's kind of on hold, waiting to see what the scoop is going to be. So hopefully we'll get some news. Governor Evers releases his budget in February. And then after that, they don't anticipate that that budget will be voted on and approved by the end of June. They keep hearing that they think it'll be fall before they come to a consensus and can get it voted on. So we'll see. It could be a long year down at the state capitol, which leads me to Door Kewaunee Legislative Days. We did meet for a second time. I am waiting, it's been 3 weeks now, for the Door County Economic Development Office to get us the link so we can update the website and the Facebook page. And I emailed them on Monday and they said, I'm still waiting. And the county administrators in Door and Kewaunee County wanted that ready to go by the end of the week. But we still do not have access to that website, or to the website and to the Facebook page.
That'll be all virtual though, correct?
They're still on hold. So they are kind of waiting to see.
Because I got a notice saying that everything was going to be handled on virtual.
So the most likely, so the desire would be that it would be face to face. With what's going on with COVID numbers, if they, they're making plans for virtual as well.
Okay.
So we're kind of on two paths, parallel paths right now, depending on what the COVID numbers do and how many people choose to get the vaccine. So, and they're thinking it'd probably be later April, if for whatever they're going to do. But we're ready to collect the issue statements. That form is all ready to go. And we also have a sign up for people who are interested in the legislative days. And we can't promote that until we get the website updated. So
Because I got a notice saying it was going to be March 2nd and 3rd.
okay.
That's the regular February legislative days session with the Wisconsin Counties Association.
Okay. Yeah, that's what, yeah, okay.
So this one,
Right.
but the Door Kewaunee, they're kind of on hold to see what happens. Because like I said, the desire is that it would be face to face. They really want to take people and be able to look at the eyes of the state agency heads and to elected officials down there. So that would be the desire. And knowing that particularly the senators seem to have bigger offices, but the assembly members, their offices are pretty small. Maybe having to rethink how many people actually go to some of those visits so that there can be a little bit of social distancing.
Okay.
So, and we do know that both Door and Kewaunee, as mentioned previously, want to get some young people down there if at all possible. So thinking about that as well. But I do know that your county administrator said they had $3,000 in the budget for this event. And I know Door County's got some dollars in their budget as well. And then the Door County Economic Development Group will also do some fundraising. So we'll see. And they want to get the issues identified so they get going on those issue papers.
So there has not been a date set in April then?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
As soon as there is, we'll definitely let you know.
Okay.
So and we'll let you know which option we're going with. They think if they hold out a little bit longer, they'll have a better sense. Maybe that crystal ball won't be quite so murky. So, but we will let you know. I'll send you an email when that website gets updated. So for issues that you might have, we want to get as many issues as possible. So.
Judy, does that group review the governor's blue ribbon report on rural prosperity? Because
was gonna
that seems
mention
like that
that.
would be a really great report to review in preparation for, I don't know,
That
maybe.
leads me to that's what I was going to talk about
Okay,
next. So
sure.
perfect. So I don't know if any of you have seen the report that was just recently released. It's the governor's blue ribbon report on rural prosperity. Have any of you seen it? Okay, I'll send you all the link. It's really good.
Yeah, it comes from the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation.
And they invited people. You could submit because we had an individual from Brown County who participated. So you got nominated, and then they selected individuals from across the state from all different sectors to be a part of this committee. And the report, I think, is really well done. So it does talk about issues that we know are impacting rural counties like broadband and some of that kind of stuff, but it's really well put together. So I'll send you the link to that report. So if you haven't seen it.
I-
It is worth
I
the
personally
read.
appreciated how much they mentioned it, how extension can help with a lot of those issues. So
Yep, that was nice. Extension is mentioned a number of times in the report, which is nice. But it is, like I said, a really well-written report. And if it's too long for you to read online, let me know. I'll print you a copy, although mine printed out kind of funky when I printed it, but I could certainly make you copies and send it to you. So let me know if you don't want it. It is kind of long, so if you don't want to read it, or if you want to mark it up, let me know and I'll send you a copy. Just realize it's a little, you have to, the pages flip differently when we printed it off the site, so. But it is really good. So good. And they do talk about that there needs to be an interface between the rural and urban parts of the state, and how do we enhance that as well? So, because we can't live without each other, so we have to figure out how do we work together. And that report came out in December, so it's pretty new at this point. So that's pretty much what I have for my report.
Okay, any questions for Judy? Thank you. Okay, next meeting dates. Well, first of all, does anyone have anything else they want to talk about?
No.
Okay, next meeting dates, I think we've set February 3rd. And if we don't look at March, as Gary mentioned, March 2nd and 3rd is the legislative days in Madison, but that's going to be virtual. And I know that they're setting up some kind of a Zoom, so anybody that wants to participate. So if there's any of us on the committee that are considering that, I was going to suggest that we move that our meeting in March to the 10th instead of the 3rd. If that's all right with everyone?
Sure. Sure.
8:30, go back to 8:30. March 10th. Okay, very good. Okay, then we'll stay tuned on the legislative Door County legislative days information.
And I'll let you know as soon as that website gets updated, so.
Okay, anything else to come before the committee?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Moved by Gary, seconded by Chuck to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.